Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 10 is here on DraftKings, and we are going to talk about an NFL DFS first look lineup for the week. We're going to build it around all the same principles that we always try to build a tournament lineup around, which is a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, making a double stack, bringing that back with somebody on the opposing team, and then finding some secondary correlation without the quarterback to try and wrap this lineup around the ideal correlation that we have found works best in tournaments year over year for the past, 10, 11, 12 years. So this is what we do here. If you wanted to be more a part of the discussion, make sure that you join our community Discord, smizzle.tv/Discord. You can become a channel member here on YouTube for $5 a month by going to smizzle.tv/join. That channel membership on YouTube unlocks all the VIP channels as well as my weekly cheat sheet for NFL that comes out every single Friday. So make sure that you do more than just watch the videos, become a part of the community, and surround yourself with all of the members in the Smizz gang so that daily fantasy does not have to be as isolating as it can be. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 10 Smizz Gang Listener League is posted. $10 to enter, 3 max. $40,000 in the prize pool. Absolutely no rake. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings, but it does not exist in the DraftKings lobby. You've got to go to smizzle.tv/links to the link tree, and that's where you will find the link to the Listener League, as well as the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel, where the recap video, so you can find out how I did in week 9, where I was right, where I was wrong, where I got lucky, where I got unlucky, and everything else. And the top 10 finishers in the Listener League. You can see all the videos that we have there on the Fantasy Football channel. It's our spillover channel here, so we don't bog down the main channel. Go drop a subscribe there. We're approaching 10,000 subs over there as well. We're going to take a look at this slate. Here's what we got on the main slate. How many games are on this one? We have 10 games once again. A whole lot of bye weeks. We're getting close. We're so close to the end of the bye weeks. I can't wait. I can't wait for bye weeks to go away. But then once bye weeks go away, then we have like Saturday slates. It's a whole thing. I don't like it. The NFL is going to do what the NFL is going to do. Colts, they're early in the morning. Colts and the Patriots, they're overseas, so they're not even on the slate. Houston and Cincinnati. Cincinnati 7-point favorites, 47.5 solid total there. Browns against the Ravens, 38.5 total. Ravens by 6. Who knows how the Ravens are going to play that game? We keep wanting to go with Lamar Jackson, but then like they run it in 17 times with Gus Edwards and backup running backs, and then the games we don't stack him, he goes nuts. So like maybe it's a situation where when everybody's on the Ravens passing game, don't play the Ravens passing game. When everybody's like, I'm never playing the Ravens, got a low total this week, that's when you should play him. So maybe this is the week. San Francisco 49ers, they come off their bye. They're going to be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3-point favorites there, 44.5. Saints, 2.5-point favorites over the Vikings. 41 total there. Joshua Dobbs, triumphant over bad coach McNepo, baby, last week. I'm still happy. Congratulations to Josh Dobbs and everybody. And congratulations to Arthur Smith for sucking. Good job. Sucks to suck, Art. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 1-point favorites over the Tennessee Titans. 38.5 points is the total there. Packers 3.5-point dogs to the Steelers. 37 is the total there. Ew. Falcons and Cardinals 42. Falcons by 1.5 in that one on the road. Detroit travels to Los Angeles. 48.5 highest total on the slate. 1.5 points is what the Lions are favored by. They should get David Montgomery back for this game coming off of their bye. I'm probably not going to include any Chargers in this lineup this week because I try to avoid putting Monday Night Football players because things can change. But there's going to be value plays on that with Josh Palmer hitting the IR for the next 4 weeks. And like Quentin Johnson, you're going to have a wide receiver 3 Davis who's going to be probably more involved. And obviously all the good plays that are going to exist in this game in a high scoring environment in Los Angeles in a dome. A lot of different things that we can do here, but I'm not going to utilize them for this video for that reason, because the Chargers are on Monday night. Giants square off against the Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 1 million. Giants are bad. And the Commanders go to Seattle to square off against the Seahawks. 2 teams that really can't defend anything at all. Seahawks defense is in play for this one, and then everything else is on the night games. Let's head back over to the slate. Talked about the quarterbacks to start. 8,000 for Lamar Jackson against one of the best defenses in the league. And it's the second time that they've played each other. The first time, 29 fantasy points against this defense on only 15 completions. Did throw for 2 touchdowns and run for 2 more. Maybe Lamar is just their kryptonite. He beat them 28-3 last time. He now gets them in this situation, but like the Ravens are kind of running away from people right now. They're a very good football team and a very varied offense that is not dependent on just one thing offensively. They're going to do whatever works, and they're good at it too. So talked about Herbert. Monitor the Monday night situation. I'm assuming everything's going to work out great, and he's going to be just fine. CJ Stroud, awesome. What a day for him. 44.8 points. Again, if you've not checked out the recap video, it's up already on the Fantasy Football channel, smizzle.tv/ff. Definitely go check that out. He's been fantastic. Touchdowns have been the thing that have been hard to come by. He had 9 going into last game, and then he had 5 in that one game. Joe Burrow, the other side of that game, Jamar Chase came down with really hard on his back and was getting a lot of therapy in that game. If he's fine, I assume he's going to be until we hear otherwise. Burrow double stacks certainly in play for this one. Trevor Lawrence against San Francisco. Nobody's going to play it because San Francisco is really tough, but if they can hang a couple of touchdowns on the board, he's cheap enough, and so are the players around him. Jared Goff going up against the Chargers defense, also very much in play. I understand the home road splits here with Jared Goff, and well, you play him at home and you don't play him on the road, and now they're getting another running back. But like, if everybody's going to want to play the running backs and everybody's going to fade road Goff in the highest totaled, closest game on the slate, Goff has issues historically over his entire career, not just home road, right? Goff doesn't do well when pressured. Goff's best seasons come when he's getting the most offensive line pass block win rates. I know that's a long stat, but like when his offensive line wins, he typically does very well. And he doesn't do well in bad weather situations. He doesn't do well with wind. It's another game in a dome. It's a game in a dome, and maybe they run away with it on the ground, but like, this is not a situation where I think you should be fading Jared Goff actively. I mentioned how that game could go bonkers. Washington already can't defend down the field. They're already throwing the ball well over expectation. My problem with them last game was that they threw the ball to like 9 or 10 different pass catchers in a week where Curtis Samuel was out. We were getting like Crowder and De'Ami Brown and freaking Byron Pringle and like backup tight end. Can you just concentrate like 20 targets to McLaurin and Dotson, and then another 5 to 8 to Thomas, and then figure the rest out? That's 28 of 45. Like, you could do that and still sprinkle in some other guys, but like really pepper the guys that do the best for you, because they're going to throw the ball downfield, and Sam Howell's going to stand in there and get socked in the mouth because he gets sacked a ton, more than anybody else this year. And now defensively, they've been susceptible to downfield passes, so Geno Smith certainly in play. And now with them not being able to pressure as much, Geno should have a lot more clean pockets with them trading Montez Sweat and Young away. Now you've got more time to throw, and a defense that on the outside really can't stop anybody. So Geno stacks and Geno doubles very much in play for this one. I'm going to go a little bit more unique because I think that I can do it. I'm going to start. CJ Stroud was so nice to me this week that I'm going to play him in first look. He deserves it. He deserves it. So he's in there. 5 touchdowns last week. Not really expecting 5 touchdowns, but this is a defense that really isn't going to do a whole lot to stop, or be able to do a whole lot that should be able to stop Cincinnati, which means that they're going to be in a lot of pass situations. Cincinnati is a defense that we can get at. There are, as I mentioned with Washington, where they throw it to 9 different guys, there's essentially like 4 guys in this passing game, and they've not been effective at running the football at all, which has left us with 4 pass catchers with Robert Woods being out. We'll monitor that situation moving forward. 1 being Nico Collins, 2 being Tank Dell, who has shown us 3 ceiling games this year. Perfect tournament play pretty much every week, only priced at $5,500. And I say tournament play because, and not cash game play, because yes, he can go off for 25 plus, but his floor is down here around 6, 8, 3, and then he just has explosion games as a very talented player when the game speeds up and goes nuclear. So like, he's very much in play at $5,500. Nico Collins priced up to 66, but their best receiver the last few weeks in the absence of Robert Woods has been Noah Brown, who we highlighted on the Anti-Tinkercast and spoke about in Discord and talked about on last week's Friday show. 6 more targets for him, no less than 5 in any of the last 3 games since returning from his injury that he sustained in week 1, which unlocked Tank Dell. 3,700? I'm not even looking for this 30-point game. Without that 75-yard touchdown, he had 5 catches for 78 yards. That is solid. This is the upside play. His ADOT's around 11, 12 yards from line of scrimmage, so he's not just a short pass, Rondale Moore or Wandale Robinson or Kadarius Toney, who's got like an ADOT of 0. ADOT, for those of you who don't know, is a metric created by Mike Clay, my former podcast co-host, and now we do a segment on fantasy football now with Daniel Dopp. ADOT stands for average depth of target. How far down the field are you when your quarterback throws you the ball on average? So 11 is really solid. 20 is really downfield, right? He's not that sort of a guy. He's a guy who runs a lot of slants and digs and ins and outs. But Noah Brown at 3,700 in a plus pass game script seems awfully solid. And the other pass catcher has been Dalton Schultz. We saw him differentiate. He has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games, 13.2, 19.5, 16.1, and 31. If you're telling me that I can roster for sub 5K a tight end with this sort of target look over his last 4, 11, 5, 7, and 10, in what we know is going to be a pass game script, against the team that is the worst at defending the tight end position in the league, granted, a DVP spot that is quite noisy, right? Gave up another 10 catches last week to Dalton Kincaid on Sunday night. We have this right here. I can also plug in a receiver from the other side in this spot. Yes, Jamar Chase got hurt, and after he got hurt in that game, we saw T. Higgins get a lot more of the volume, which is always the way it's going to be. T. Higgins on this team is the 1B, or let's just say he's the wide receiver 2, right? He has alpha potential, but on this team, he's not. And he's definitely not Jamar Chase, right? Much like Christian Kirk was not an alpha when he was on Arizona, he was clearly the wide receiver 2 behind prime DeAndre Hopkins, but he could go somewhere else and get alpha type usage out of the slot. T. Higgins could definitely get alpha type usage if he went to another team. I'm not sure that he will. He might. They can franchise tag him next year. That's a discussion that we'll have in an off-season show for sure. But this double and bring back seems extremely solid to me. The other game that I do want to focus on, high total, well, not moderately high total, right? Like 45 is fine. 50 plus is extremely high. 45, but could balloon out of control because of the inefficiencies of both passing game defenses. The Washington Commanders are the 29th team in terms of points allowed to opposing wide receivers. And the Washington is facing off against the Seahawks, who have given up the 25th most fantasy points. Or sorry, the 7th most fantasy points. They're 25th at defending the position in the league. I don't need to pair them with the quarterback. We can use this as a secondary stack. It's not that difficult. And we have a 5-box running back situation here too. So I could run a heavy correlation. If you wanted to go with DK Metcalf, he's nursing an awful lot of injuries. Was able to come down with 1 on 4 targets. Tyler Lockett didn't come down with a lot. He usually has a much better result, right? Percentage of targets that turn into catches because of the routes that they run him on. So this is kind of an outlier game. I think that he's going to be just fine. It's only 6,100. But we're starting to see the ascension of JSN, whose price has come down. I kind of like that. I like the fact that his snaps and his routes have gone up, have trended upwards. I like the fact that he's playing with an injured player ahead of him right now with DK Metcalf. I like the fact that he's been extremely successful and efficient with the routes and targets that he's gotten. And 4,100 seems like a very, not safe, but solid floor plus upside play in that situation. It's not that difficult with Dotson as well. On the other side, McLaurin is 5,800. Dotson down at 5K. 8 targets, 10 targets, 8 targets the last 3 weeks with Curtis Samuel dinged up and or out of the game. Caught another touchdown last week. Without it, still a boatload of targets and downfield looks as well. 33-yard touchdown last week against New England. Philadelphia, these are two tough defenses, though Philadelphia does leak a lot of points to opposing wide receivers. So if he's just a schoolyard bully who is able to beat up on weak cornerback situations, especially since F1 is going to draw other teams CB1, give me Jahan Dotson in this spot. And if this game does get out of hand, it's probably going to include a long touchdown from one Kenny Walker, who, when they play from ahead, something they did not do against Baltimore at all, and he doesn't get scripted out of a game, we have a lot more volume coming his way. And against Washington, who can't stop just about anything, we have the ability for him at 6,800. So a heavy correlation on a shorter slate. When slates get shorter and there's less games, you want to correlate more around the plays that you want instead of trying to spread out, because there's less plays to be had. There's very natural and organic ways to get different versus, price tag. And now we're left with $1,200 to roster a defense and to roster a running back. Well, like, what if I'm not going to play the Commanders. I'm not going to play the Bengals. I'm not going to play the Texans. We could go with the Browns here at 3,000, but like, who's good? Who's a good running back? He's pretty good. I think he's almost great. I don't even have to look at other ones. Chet says he's decent, and I could play and root against Arthur Smith. This is a win-win. This is a win-win. So that's the lineup I'm going to go with. Heavy correlation on a shorter slate. I get to play McCaffrey and F. Arthur Smith. Thank y'all for being here. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.